Hello everyone, welcome back to League of Legends DFS Esports Slate breakdown for DraftKings Slate June 17th. Should be a pretty interesting one. I think there's a couple spots that I'm liking a good bit. And we can go ahead and just quickly get into recapping yesterday. So, pretty boring day again overall. I think as I tweeted out, maybe you guys have seen this already, but last couple days not a single underdog has come through. It has been 8 straight favorites winning, and usually that's not boding well for us. Yeah, we could check the match history here, check these scoreboards. So first match up, RA did end up getting the 2-1 over OMG. Pretty much what it came down to was OMG just are not good. This was definitely a concern and something I was prepared for. Talking about this game yesterday, OMG just not a good team. Really, there's not much more to it. I don't think RA looked particularly good either, so I definitely am still fading RA going forward. I think the fact that OMG even took game 2 off of RA is incredibly concerning for RA with how bad with how bad OMG have been looking. I think there's definitely a case to be made that I think OMG, maybe when they do get their full roster together and get a little bit of time, maybe they're going to be looking a little bit different. I think there's a case that they're probably like a bottom 2 team right now. They look that bad. They seem completely hopeless in a lot of these spots. So that's something to keep in mind going forward, I guess, as well. Then the second one up was BLG Ultra Prime. Ultra Prime actually did end up taking a game off of BLG. I was a little bit surprised by that, but BLG did end up clawing it back and winning it in the third game with the surprise Kha'Zix pick here, which was pretty strong. Helped set up Doggo a good bit. This BLG comp in game 3 is pretty good. It's nice that these teams are getting a little bit more creative with the drafting. Ultra Prime are buying into the LCK Sejuani top thing. I don't like it that much, but they seem to think it's fine against the Gangplank. It did not look like it did anything, so I'm not sure what the point of it is, but that was the way that they were leaning, and then BLG got the job done. Doggo looked pretty good in game 3. I think BLG are still pretty good. I just think Ultra Prime I underrated a little bit, but I definitely do think Ultra Prime are going to be a decent team going forward. They're definitely in this similar vein to AL to me. So something to keep in mind, I guess, with how we're viewing these teams at the moment. But double underdog or double favorites get the job done in the LPL. Then over in the LCK, it's very similar story. Genji, complete boring games. Damwon, completely boring games. You guys do not have smudge on your screen or anything. Yes, Damwon won a game 3-0 with the over-under was set at 24.5, I believe. Damwon won it 3-0 in a 36-minute game. First blood was at 31 minutes. Game 2 went to 41. We're still seeing these extended, boring games in the LCK. This is I don't want to overreact too quickly, but I do kind of want to react to this. And I'm just going to be Xing out the LCK all of it at the moment until somebody shows that they're doing something. I do think there is some potential in one of the games we have tomorrow, but I'm done. I'm not watching or I'm not participating in this LCK stuff that is happening. The entire meta, it looks like that they've been practicing with and preparing for, has just been playing extremely slow, very very slowly scale up, fight it like 41 minutes at a dragon, and call it a day. It is pretty disgraceful what's going on in the LCK. There is a game maybe I'm looking forward to tomorrow, but that is it. I am not interested in the LCK games from a DFS standpoint until something changes. Probably would have to wait for a patch or two or something, but the way that this is going, the LCK is looking really, really abysmal at the moment, especially for DFS purposes. So that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be pretty much taking these nights like it's 2 gamers and leaving it there. I'm done with the LCK. I do not care. These numbers and stuff that I've been seeing from these LCK games are laughably bad, and I'm done. I'm not messing with it anymore. We went on the big rant yesterday, and they went and doubled down even further again today. So I am not messing around with these LCK games at all. So with that said, we can go ahead and get started with the League of Legends, stuff. Talking about the LPL mainly. I just realized I forgot to bring out the rosters, but I don't think there's anything interesting to take note of. Um, we look over in the, here. I think this is backwards, isn't it? No, yeah, it is EDG, JDG first. So this is where I'm probably going to be making my stand. If you guys recall the last time we saw EDG play, I was pretty low on them, and then I was pretty high on JDG. And this is a perfect clash, I think, of buying into a team I'm buying into, which is JDG, and then a team I'm selling on, I'm not that high on, which is EDG. So, right off the bat, that's where I'm going. I'm going with JDG over EDG. I believe they're slight underdogs, plus 115. Yeah, nothing crazy. These numbers are pretty bad, vig wise. But yeah, I like JDG here. Probably going to be a relatively popular pick. They typically are, just because of their pace and their skill set and all that stuff. I think this is a good spot for them. It definitely does worry me going against EDG here, but I think EDG have not looked great early on here. JDG is just a team I'm buying into. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I'm buying on JDG. I'm selling on EDG, so it's a good spot to go ahead and do that. Up next is RNG FPX. Again, not much, I think, really to say. You guys could probably already have a good guess of where I'm leaning here. I do not like FPX. I think they're a pretty low team. I do not like RNG really either, that much. I think they're going to be a little bit overrated overall. However, they're still just it's like probably a top 3 team or so, top 3, top 5 team maybe. So I'm leaning this way. I'm taking RNG probably 2-0. I do not see how FPX really mixes competitive. Odds wise, RNG minus 900. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm anticipating. This is honestly one where this may be a little bit crazy to say, but I think this is such a one-sided stomp that maybe RNG isn't even that great of a play. I mean, I'm probably going to have them in a good bit anyway, just because I do think the 2-0 potential is pretty high. The players are all really good. It is the LPL, and the LCK options are not great either. So that's something to keep in mind, but I think this is potential for not being the best when it comes down to, big upside for RNG, because I don't think FPX puts up that much resistance. So that's just the way I'm viewing it. So overall, JDG versus EDG, this is a game I'm going to be targeting a good bit, and I like JDG in it the most. We can talk about the LCK, but because there is one thing I want to touch on, and I do think this Live Sandbox Kwangdong game is not the worst possible thing, because last split, if we look at let's look at what was I going to show? Last split for the LPL, and you can never find Korea in here. LCK. If we look at these stats, so if we look at losses towards the tail end of the last year, the teams who are giving up the most, we could see in the LPL, these teams are giving up a ton of deaths and losses. Some of the upper end are 0.98s, where we have 4 teams in the 0.9s. We have a bunch of teams in the 0.8s. Over in the LCK, the highest is a 0.8. We have 2.8s, 4.7s, and then the rest are 0.6s. So pretty low death totals overall in the LCK. I mean, that's not really any news to us either way. But we see Live Sandbox is actually kind of on the upper end here of giving up losses, your deaths and losses. So that's something to keep in mind. So if we do look at some of these teams who, when they lose, how much do they lose? If we compare them to some of the other teams, they're actually kind of on par. So FPX dies the most in losses. EDG are kind of average. And then Live Sandbox is not that far behind. So Live Sandbox is not that bad in terms of giving up deaths and losses. So I'm not going to X out that series for that reason. So if we do look at the winning teams, we do have... why is this not bringing up JDG? Am I crazy? Yeah, why is JDG not in this list? Am I missing something here? Am I crazy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, JDG is not on this list. That's interesting. I wonder why that is coming up that way. But I was just going to show, let's see, LPL Spring. That's players. LPL 22 Spring. Filter teams, JD. There we go. Now they're back. What was I looking at? Am I crazy? Whatever. Oh, they didn't lose. That's why I had it on losses and they didn't lose. Duh. So that would explain it. Whoops. JD Gaming. The other team we were looking into was Royal Never Give Up, RNG. Again, we're looking at the wins, how many kills that they're getting in wins, and then we look at KDF, Guangdong Freaks here, and their wins pretty low. That's definitely a problem. We see RNG and JDG's wins are pretty high up, so I definitely would favor the LPL games. That's no secret. However, I do think it is possible because of when we look at the player stats. We'll bring this up, KDF, RNG, and JDG. So if we look at the numbers from these teams individually, there are actually some decent stats from these KDF players. So we see Teddy and Fate are both at 70%. Not that great for kind of everyone else like Hoyt, Elam, and Keen, but Teddy and Fate are there, especially when you look at Teddy's numbers. His kill share is pretty good. His kill participation is really good, top in both of those numbers. So KDF is definitely going to play heavily through Teddy. And when it comes down to these lower total games, I'm not that afraid to play them as secondary stacks and definitely prioritize the carries, because we know that they can get there in different ways. Like, we know Teddy's probably going to get a bulk majority of the CS, which does add up. We know his participation in kill share is going to be really high, so he's going to get a lot of the kills and he's going to be participating in a lot of the battles. So his numbers can get there as a secondary option. I probably wouldn't prioritize them at all as a primary stack, again, because we look at those secondary options, Hoyt, Elam, and Keen. None of those numbers are really that enticing, although Hoyt and Elams are not that bad, but I just don't see enough numbers to sustain that many players from this matchup. So that's pretty much the difference maker, and that's what it's gonna come down to here for me. Is I don't see the numbers there for that matchup, and it's hard to argue when you look at what we have from the rest of the team or from the rest of these games. JDG's numbers are pretty crazy. We see Hope, Kanavi missing, all pretty high up. Yagao and 369 are kind of low. The top laner options are not that great between 369, Keen, and Bin. We know it's Breathe now, but I wouldn't change too much in terms of what to expect from an RNG top laner. We know it's going to be a lot of Xiaohu with a little bit mix of Gala, Ming, and Wei. I mean, they're all pretty decent numbers. Like, the difference between 70 and 60 is not too much. We're kind of splitting hairs here. I think there's definitely a big drop off probably after Ming, or maybe you could even argue after Wei. Well, I think once you're getting below 65, that's a little bit more treacherous numbers. So, but I would definitely still want to play some Wei either way. And yeah, I mean, that's just what I'm looking at. Not too much to go off of and look at here. I don't want to spend too much time talking about these games. Like, I'm not going to stretch them out just to stretch them out. So I kind of got my point across here. I think we're looking at pretty, fairly obvious plays in my opinion. I'm not saying that they're going to for sure come through or anything like that. I can't guarantee you a JD win, but I'm feeling pretty confident in that. I like JDG a good bit. We've definitely seen some shakiness from EDG, so I'm buying into that side. I expect this to be a pretty popular build going with JDG and RNG. So that's definitely a way you can get unique, is maybe try to fade RNG, hope that they don't end up coming through, and then go to the KDF side. That's probably going to be how I'm going to approach it and get a little bit unique and try to get KDF instead of RNG. It's going to be a little bit worrisome to fade RNG, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm just going to take my chances somewhere. I don't think the slate's going to be that interesting otherwise, so that's just where I'm going to take my stands. Maybe I'm overthinking it and people are going to mess around with KDF a little bit more, or maybe get in some T1. I do think T1 win and probably win in a 2-1, but I'm not buying into that series at all. It's definitely a slow one. That does bring up one point where I kind of forgot to mention, really, and that's when we look at these LCK games, the team slots are going to be performing really well. So I definitely would try and prioritize getting a decent LCK team into your team slot, because it will add up, and those extra points will change things. Every point matters, especially when you're trying to be unique. So one-offing your team slot with a decent LCK team is something I'm definitely not afraid to do. So that's something to keep in mind, and that'll be it. I'm gonna try to get a little bit weird. I definitely think you can one off some things like a team slot. I think you can one off something like Teddy. Try to get a little bit unique while maintaining your stacks or whatever. So that's gonna be how I'm going to approach this slate. I'm not gonna get too crazy or weird with it. I like what I like, and I'm not going to stray too far from it. So that'll be it for me today. Maybe we can get a little bit more interesting games tomorrow. I think we have a decent Genji game tomorrow, if memory serves, but I don't know. I haven't seen too much. But that'll be it. That'll be it for me today. Best luck to you guys tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.